The city was waking up under a pale golden sunrise when Adrien Cortez stepped out of his luxury car, his reflection glimmering across the tinted glass doors of the Grand Celestia Hotel. Dressed in his finest charcoal suit, with a scent of confidence and sin lingering around him, Adrien carried himself like a man who owned the world. The lobby smelled of lilies and money, marble floors gleaming under chandeliers that glittered like captured stars. People turned to look at him, the successful businessman, the man of charm, the man of influence. But beside him walked a woman who wasn't his wife. Her name was Serena. Young, dazzling, full of laughter that was more calculated than sincere. Adrien's arm rested around her waist as they entered the hotel that symbolized wealth and power. He thought no one would ever find out. But fate has a way of uncovering what pride tries to bury. As he reached the reception desk, he smiled, pulling out his platinum card, a symbol of his achievements, his status, his control. But that moment, that single, fragile moment, shattered everything. Because standing across the lobby, walking with calm authority, was the one person he never expected to see. His wife, Celeste Cortez. Her presence changed the air. Conversation stopped mid-sentence, and even the soft piano in the background seemed to pause. Celeste wasn't the heartbroken woman he'd left behind months ago. She wasn't trembling nor crying, she was radiant, dressed in a cream suit that spoke of quiet power and grace. Her posture was unshakable, her eyes steady, and her aura commanding. Every step she took echoed through the lobby like thunder disguised as elegance. Adrien froze, his hand still extended toward the receptionist. Serena noticed the shift, confusion creasing her face as she followed his gaze. Adrien had always thought of Celeste as fragile, the kind woman who believed too much, forgave too easily, and loved too deeply. But that day, he realized how wrong he had been. Celeste wasn't fragile. She was fire disguised as silk. She had come not as the abandoned wife, but as the new owner of the very empire Adrien thought he ruled. The receptionist looked between them nervously, whispering something under her breath. Adrien's hand trembled as he placed the card on the counter, pretending to be calm, but his eyes betrayed him. Serena leaned closer, whispering, "What's wrong, darling?" But Adrien didn't respond. He was trapped in a moment where time stood still, face to face with the woman who had once loved him beyond measure and whom he had broken in ways words could never describe. Celeste stopped a few feet away from him. Her gaze met his, and in that silence 1,000 memories screamed between them. She didn't say his name. She didn't need to. Her eyes spoke the language of heartbreak, strength, and unspoken closure. Adrien wanted to speak, to explain, to say something that might undo the past, but guilt silenced him. Years ago, Adrien had been different. Back when dreams were bigger than bank accounts and love was stronger than pride, Celeste had been his anchor. She believed in him when no one else did. She stayed when others left. Together, they had built a company from scratch. Late nights filled with laughter, coffee cups scattered across the table, promises whispered under the same stars. Celeste's faith had been his fuel. But as success came, Adrien changed. The warmth that once lived in his heart turned to greed. Love became a background noise to his ambition. Celeste noticed it long before he admitted it. The late meetings that lasted till dawn, the unfamiliar perfume on his shirts, and the messages he'd hide when she walked into the room, all told a story she didn't want to believe. She waited, she hoped, and when hope failed, she broke in silence. The woman who had once held him close at night began to hold herself together instead. And yet through her pain she didn't crumble. Instead of seeking revenge, Celeste began to rebuild herself piece by piece. She studied, invested, created, and worked quietly behind the scenes. Her intelligence became her shield, her silence her strength. She put her soul into something new, a vision, a legacy, a dream of her own. Every tear she shed became a brick in the empire she was building, one he would one day walk into without knowing. The day Adrien saw her in that hotel, she wasn't there to confront him. She didn't need to. She had already won. The hotel, the business, the empire, it all bore her name now. not out of spite, but because she earned it with resilience, wisdom, and courage. Serena shifted uneasily, her charm fading under Celeste's quiet dominance. She felt small, almost invisible beside the woman whose very presence demanded respect. Adrien lowered his gaze, shame washing over him. He suddenly realized what true power looked like, not arrogance or wealth, but dignity. Celeste finally spoke, her voice calm but firm. "Mr. Cortez," she said, addressing him not as a wife, but as a woman who no longer belonged to his world. The sound of her voice sent a chill through him. "This hotel now operates under new management. If you need assistance, my staff will be happy to help you." Her words were polite, but they carried the weight of everything he had lost. Adrien opened his mouth, but before he could speak, Celeste turned away. Her heels clicked softly against the marble floor as she walked toward the elevator, her assistant following behind. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. She had already closed that chapter. The staff stared in silence, admiration written on their faces. Some whispered her name, others simply smiled in awe. Serena looked at Adrien with disappointment, realizing that the man she thought was powerful had just been reduced to a shadow of himself. That night, Adrien sat alone in his penthouse. The city lights sparkled outside, but inside his heart, there was only darkness. He poured himself a drink, but it didn't numb the regret. He remembered every moment with Celeste, the way she used to laugh when he teased her, the way she looked at him with belief even when he failed, the way she held his hand when no one else did. He realized too late that success without love was emptiness, disguised as triumph. Days turned into weeks. Adrien tried to reach out, but Celeste never responded. She didn't block him, she simply moved beyond him. Her focus was her work, her purpose, and the lives she was touching through her business. The Grand Celestia Hotel became a place of hope, employing single mothers, supporting young entrepreneurs, and hosting programs that uplifted the broken. She turned her pain into light for others. Months later, Adrien attended a charity gala, ironically hosted by Celeste. He stood in the corner watching her from afar. She laughed softly with guests, graceful and radiant, her energy filling the room. When their eyes met for a brief moment, she smiled, not with bitterness, but peace. It wasn't forgiveness he saw, it was freedom. In that moment, Adrien understood what he had truly lost. It wasn't just a marriage or a company. It was the one person who saw him at his worst and still chose to love him. And because he didn't value her, he lost everything that mattered. Celeste, on the other hand, had become a symbol of endurance, rebirth, and quiet strength. People whispered her story not as gossip, but as inspiration. They said she was a woman who turned betrayal into brilliance, heartbreak into hope. She no longer needed to prove herself to anyone. Her presence alone told her story. Years passed. Adrien lived in the shadow of his mistakes, while Celeste's light only grew brighter. One afternoon, he walked by the hotel again, older now, quieter, humbled by time. Through the glass, he saw her standing in the lobby, helping a young couple sign a contract. She looked happy, truly happy. And for the first time, Adrien smiled not out of pride, but gratitude. Because even in his fall, she had found her wings. He turned away, whispering to himself, "She was always the best part of me." Celeste never looked back. She didn't need validation or revenge. She had something far greater, peace. She had become the kind of woman every broken soul dreams of becoming, the kind who walks through fire and comes out shining brighter. And as the sunlight poured through the tall glass windows of the Grand Celestia, Celeste stood like a vision of grace. No longer the wife who was left behind, but the woman who rose above it all.